There we go.
Hi, my name is Joan Grimes, and this is my daughter, Jennifer Wallace, and we are estate planning attorneys in Walnut Creek, California. We do many programs for a retirement community here in Walnut Creek, Rossmore, and our clients have asked us if we would do programs that were shorter and deal with just one topic at a time so they could watch them. And so we decided we would start doing that. So today,
Pardon, we're new to YouTube and we're new to all this, so bear with us. And as we learn, we normally have a film crew that does our little production. So, but anyway, we're excited to be here.
So we thought we'd start with kind of how did we get to this place where we do estate planning, and we really try to encourage people in most cases to have revocable living trusts. And the way we got here was that in the old days, people would have wills. So a will would say, you know, I, Joan Grimes, leave my belongings to Jennifer Wallace, or to my husband first, and if my husband's passed away, then to my children. That was the standard will, and that worked very well. And for married couples, they had something called reciprocal wills. So I gave everything to my husband gave everything to me, and property was all held as joint tenants, and that was very easy. But then as time went on, when the second person would die, there would have to be a probate. And as there were more and more of us here in the state of California and across the country and across the world, more and more courts just got frustrated with having to do all these probates. And if people became incapacitated before they died, they would have a conservatorship and then a probate. And so the courts kind of uniformly, over time, went to the legislatures in their states and said, please make laws so that people can have their own trusts, so that the trusts we do today really serve two purposes. One is they help you if you become incapacitated, okay, before you die. And the second part is they dispose of your property after your death.
And what do we mean when we're saying that somebody's incapacitated? What does that mean?
It means that they're not able to handle their own financial affairs for one reason or another. So sometimes it might be dementia. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it might be they had a stroke. Mm-hmm. So it could be physical incapacity, could be mental incapacity, but they're not able to handle their affairs.
And we're generally, when we're talking about incapacity, we're not generally speaking about physical ailments. You know, mm-hmm. If you're in a wheelchair, that's fine, as long as you're mentally able to handle your financial affairs. So yeah, the revocable living trust serves as two pieces of avoiding the need for a conservatorship, because it protects you when you're incapacitated, and also avoids the need for a probate.
And a lot of times when people come to us, they really are sort of forgetting about the whole part of if you become incapacitated. They're just saying,
my favorite part.
I know, and that's the part we actually really care about, is that if you become incapacitated, you don't have to have a conservatorship. You can pick the people you want to help you if you become incapacitated, versus the court picking somebody on your behalf.
Show them our box.
Oh, yes. So we have a box, okay? And this is really a great way to think about this, is your trust, your revocable living trust is like a box.
Hold it up so they can see a little bit more. There we go.
So it's like a box, and you put stuff in your box. And so there's all kinds of stuff. You want to hold the box up? So there's all kinds of stuff. So traditionally, it's easy for people to think about houses going into your trust. That's the most common thing that people talk about. So your house goes into your trust. Bank accounts go into your trust, and you still use your bank account just the way you normally would have used your bank account. You write your checks, you do everything the same. It just usually has the name of your trust at the top, or it will say your name, TTE. Sometimes it even doesn't even say the name of your trust. There's that.
This was my grandmother's bank account, and Grammy, she had a trust, and the name of her trust, the Grimes Revocable Trust, is says that at the top, which shows that it is a trust asset. It was in her box.
And we want people to put their stocks in their trust, preferably not as an individual share like this, because this is harder to work with, but you put it into a brokerage account. And my husband loved Disney, so that's why we have the Disney shares. And those are things that general things that go into your trust.
Yeah.
And what's really great is when you're alive, and you have capacity, everything's good, your box is open. You can take your stuff in and out of your box whenever you want. Change houses, change bank accounts, change all these things, and these things are simply in there. If you and your spouse or you alone got in a bad car accident and you didn't have capacity, the box would close, box closes, and then your trustee, whoever that person is who you pick to handle your affairs, the person you trust, they have to follow the instructions on the box to use. Yeah.
And then the instructions on this box have the two parts. The first set of instructions, well, this box in my mind has three phases, three sets of instructions. The first set of instructions are who's in charge right now while you have capacity. So while you are alive and doing well, you have capacity and you can do anything you want with the assets in this box, with the instructions on the outside of the box. You are in charge. You can do anything you want at any time you want. Then most trusts have a second set of instructions, and that's what happens if you become incapacitated. We need to know two things. One, who's going to be in charge while you're incapacitated? Who's going to manage your affairs? And what do we do with your money? What do we do with the assets in your trust while you're incapacitated? Most people say that if I'm incapacitated, use all my money in my box to care for me.
And if she has dependents, which she does, then the box would also say to use the money for her and her dependents.
Yes.
If you don't have dependents anymore, in theory, I have no dependents anymore.
No dependents.
Right. So if I have no dependents, then it should just say that the money is to be used for me and my husband.
Yes. And then the third set of instructions on the box is what happens when you pass away. Again, we need to know two things. Who's in charge when you pass away? And two, what are we going to do with the assets in the box once you pass away? And that's where you think of your distribution scheme. You think about who you would like us to take the assets. We'll take the assets out and we'll distribute them to whoever you tell us to and in whatever manner you tell us to. So yeah, that's our box.
And it's a great way to think about this. Now, the thing you should know about estate planning is that your box, your trust, is the central piece of your estate plan. So when you see people talking about, I'm doing my estate plan, this is most of the time really what they're talking about is their trust. But there are other documents that need to go with your trust. So they need to go with that two parts of your trust, the incapacity provisions. If you become incapacitated, you're going to need other documents to go with this provisions in your trust. You're going to need a healthcare directive. You're going to need a HIPAA so that people can have access to your healthcare documents. You're going to need to have a living will.
Well, the living will is kind of optional.
Optional, but more and more people
really
other want that.
Healthcare documents.
You're going to need a durable power of attorney or a statutory power of attorney. And some people like to have both, depending on where you live. That may be needed.
And later talks, we'll get into all of these documents.
Right. But we just wanted to let you know that an estate plan has more than just the trust. So it has those pieces for the incapacity.
We've got the will too.
And the will.
Everybody needs, if you have a trust, you also need a will as well.
Right. And you need a will because that helps with the disposition of your assets once you're gone, if anything is left out.
And we'll go into those later as well, of what is your will, why do you have one?
But estate planning is a really great gift you give yourself. Because if you do this and you do become incapacitated, you've made it so much easier on your loved ones or the people who will need to help you. And it also, as most people understand, it avoids probate. And that is a wonderful thing too, because probate is a very long and complicated and expensive process. I should actually say probate is a very expensive and long and complicated, but start off with expensive because it's very expensive here in the state of California. So we hope you've enjoyed our first program, our intro on this, and we hope you will join us for more of our programs in the coming days and weeks.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Now we have to figure out how to stop recording. Stop recording.